Hello, I'm Heather Coleman. I'm an associate professor of biology at Syracuse University in Syracuse, New York. I became a Pulse Fellow in 2024. Today, I will be interviewing 3 of the original Pulse Fellows who developed the Pulse Recognition Program. They're going to talk to us about the program, its impact, and also some of the key attributes of departments that are successfully transforming their undergraduate education. Dr. Loretta Brancaccio-Taras is a professor in the Department of Biological Sciences at Kingsborough Community College in Brooklyn, New York, one of the units of the City University of New York. She previously served as the chair of the department for 6 years and is currently the director of the Center for E-Learning. Loretta has been a Pulse Fellow since 2012 and has gone on 3 recognition visits, focused on community colleges and minority-serving institutions. Dr. Kate Marley is a professor of biology at Doane University in Crete, Nebraska. She has served in a variety of leadership roles at her university, including department and division chair, as well as 3 years as associate vice president for academic affairs. She has been a Pulse Fellow since 2012 and has gone on 9 recognition visits, focused primarily on small liberal arts colleges and community colleges. Dr. Tom Jack is a professor of biology at Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. He has served in a variety of leadership roles at his university, including 12 years as chair of the Department of Biological Sciences. Tom has been a Pulse Fellow since 2012 and has gone on 9 recognition visits, including those to research universities, regional comprehensive universities, and liberal arts colleges. Thank you all for agreeing to be interviewed so that we can learn more about the Pulse Recognition Program and the successful work of participating departments in the transformations of their undergraduate programs. Kate, can you start us off by providing an overview of the Pulse Recognition Program?
Sure. PULSE stands for Partnership for Undergraduate Life Sciences Education. And the program is built on this premise that there's value in departments having opportunity for formative and summative and also comparative assessment of their department's move towards change. And then the feedback that they get through that process really rewards and motivates departments to continue to work towards that transformation. Initially, we were really inspired by the Vision and Change report that came out in 2011. And that's where we developed the initial standards for transformation. But there's a lot of time has elapsed since 2011. And so now we look also to the literature and we gather, our inspiration for what it means to be a transformed department from the best practices in teaching and learning and the broader science community.
Thank you. Loretta, what are the key components of participation in the recognition program?
So briefly, Heather, Pulse Recognition Program is a self-evaluation process where departments reflect on their work and their undergraduate curriculum and determine how well it aligns with recommendations in national reports like Vision and Change. It includes a visit by 2 trained Pulse Fellows where they give an independent evaluation of the department's work. After that visit, the department receives 2 reports. The first is a very detailed report that gives recommendations and guidance for the department to continue their work. The second report gives the department what we call a progression level, a rating about their work and where it can go in the future. In addition, that report contains comparative data, like Kate mentioned, so that a department could see sort of where they rank with similar institution types.
And what does the departmental self-evaluation process look like?
So probably the largest part of that self-evaluation process is the completion of the Pulse rubrics. The Pulse rubrics, 6 rubrics, 77 criteria in the areas of curriculum, assessment, faculty practice, faculty support, climate for change, infrastructure, and our newest rubric, building community and collaboration. we request that departments submit to us consensus scores. So not average scores, not individual scores, but consensus scores. And we really can't emphasize that enough. So what we ask departments to do to develop consensus scores is to meet. And once they meet, they go over each rubric item and they discuss any disparities that they see across the department, and then agree upon a particular rating for that. And what we have found is that departments report that they find those conversations both motivating and energizing for their work. What we see is those consensus scores seem to reflect more the independent evaluation that our site visitors give. So after the rubrics, which does take a little time for departments to complete, we asked departments, the individual faculty, to submit a teaching statement, as well as complete what we call the Faculty Attitudes and Readiness Survey. Other documents we ask for: a curriculum map, sample syllabi for introductory courses and also for advanced courses, assessment examples from those courses. Let's see what else. Sample assessments, and also some basic department data like graduation rates, enrollment numbers, and retention rates.
Okay, thank you. Tom, Loretta has told us about the Pulse rubrics, which play a key role in the self-evaluation process. Can you tell us more about these rubrics that were developed for the recognition program?
Sure. Yeah. So as Loretta mentioned, the Pulse rubrics consist of more than 70 distinct criteria to help departments review multiple aspects of their program, including curriculum assessment, pedagogy, infrastructure, and institutional environment. Many of these features are within the control of the faculty and the department, but that's not true for all of them. So some of them are actually the department and the faculty have no control over. Some, for example, some aspects of infrastructure, like which classrooms your department are assigned to teach in. The rubrics help department determine their progress relative to an ideal transformed undergraduate life sciences department. Okay, and as Kate mentioned earlier, the criteria, the individual criteria, are based a lot on the Vision and Change report, but it also incorporates other items from the literature that incorporate best practices for teaching and learning in STEM departments. The rubrics can be downloaded from our website, and departments can use one of them or all of them, and they're very useful for fostering discussions in departments. And that's true whether or not they're preparing to participate in the Pulse recognition program. So in addition to the full-length rubric, we've also developed a shorter snapshot rubric. It's 21 items, okay, which captures a few criteria from the longer rubric. And the snapshot's really great for individuals and departments to take a quick look at where they are and what areas they made progress in and what areas they need to focus on. And again, you don't have to participate in the recognition program to use the rubrics. That's important. Hundreds of departments and individuals have downloaded and scored themselves or their departments on the rubrics to inform their own work in their own departments. And again, they're free to use and they're available on the Pulse website.
Thank you. Kate, Loretta also mentioned the Faculty Attitudes and Readiness Survey as a part of the evaluation process. Can you tell us more about the survey?
Sure. The FAR survey is completed by individual faculty. So we send it and request that each one submit separately that survey. And like the name of it sort of says, the survey looks at faculty attitudes towards change, their awareness of national reform efforts, and also their choices of practices from across that best practice landscape. So right now, the FAR tool is used by the recognition site visitors who are going to go to and visit the department. And so we use that really to give us a sense of the landscape or climate in the department that we're going to visit. So we'll kind of know what it is that we're seeing. We are hoping to get longitudinal data, particularly if we are, or when we are able to return to a department some number of years later, so that we can see growth, we hope, growth in those attitudes and also practice choices.
Thank you. Loretta, what can you tell us about the departments that have participated in the Pulse Recognition Program?
So Heather, so far we have visited 37 departments from a range of institution types, including community colleges, regional comprehensive institution, liberal arts colleges, and research-intensive universities. And what we found is that the rubrics, which are a major component of the recognition program, are a valid tool to measure change in departments, and they do not reflect any bias towards institution types. And if you'd like to learn more, you can read about those findings in the 2017 paper we published in CBE Life Sciences Education.
Tom, is there more you'd like to add about the departments?
Yeah, sure. So there's 37 departments that Loretta referred to. 5 of them are historically Black colleges and universities, HBCUs, and 7 are minority serving institutions of different types, and the remainder are predominantly white institutions. In addition, we've recognized and visited departments, across the country from 20 different U.S. states, East Coast, West Coast, Southern United States, Midwest, Great Plains. Also visited a range of different size departments. So from some very small departments with fewer than 10 faculty and fewer than 30 majors per year to some very large departments that have, as many as 50 faculty in the department and hundreds of majors per year. So a wide range of different types of places we have gone to.
Thank you. Are there shared attributes across the departments that are successfully transforming their undergraduate life science programs?
Yeah, I could start this one. We found there are a few essential ingredients. In particular, what we notice is that departments really need to have an internal champion for change. So somebody in their department, it's usually a department chair or a program director or some other maybe senior faculty member who's really well respected in the department. And we've seen that that having that leadership helps to kind of nucleate the energy and effort for change. We have also visited departments that don't have an internal champion, and so maybe there's groundswell from the bottom up to work on or deliver change. What we've observed with those departments is that it's really difficult to sustain the change without that champion. We've also seen along the same lines that the departments that are the most successful also have a champion for change in the administration. It's usually somebody maybe at the dean level. And the reason that's really beneficial is because that person can remove challenges or barriers for change. They can provide resources, they can advocate for the department, with senior administration, help the senior administration understand they need time and opportunities to practice these evidence-based teaching experiences. And they will occasionally need to take risk. We don't learn things all at once. It's often we have to, practice these strategies until we do a better job and really deliver on the promise of those best practices.
So Kate, you mentioned resources, and I'd just like to sort of add to that a little bit. So definitely successful departments do have resources, and the types of resources that they have include professional development for faculty and staff, support for undergraduate research, and with that, of course, labs that are well-equipped and teaching spaces that are well-equipped for different types of pedagogy and learning. Support in the form also of lab tech support and teaching assistant support and support centers. And what we've seen support centers look like is for faculty, usually a center for teaching and learning. And for students, there's a range of support centers that we've seen work for departments. And those can include a tutoring center, an advisement center, a center for students to build their study skills, math skills, writing skills. So those are all things that sort of help students as well as faculty in their classrooms. For undergraduate research, we've seen a range of the way departments have innovatively added undergraduate research to their curriculum. So some have done that through undergraduate research experiences, or also known as cures. Others have a course that's dedicated to research. Still others have a summer research experience, and others have collaborated with a nearby institution or industry partner to provide a research experience for students. So with all of those different things that take place, what we found is whatever the experience is, of course, having the state-of-the-art lab is a great experience for students. But even for those institutions that have basic infrastructure, that undergraduate research experience for a student can be truly transformative and make them more interested to continue in studying STEM fields.
Right, right. And thinking about all those research opportunities to develop, most department faculty talk about some challenges that they have as well that are common across the institutions that we've visited. One of those big challenges is finding enough time, and that's time for all kinds of things. I feel sure we all recognize that challenge. But transforming departments, we've just seen that they can negotiate for time in a variety of ways. Sometimes it could be a course load release or a buyout. Sometimes it's stipends so that they can do intensive planning over the summertime, or resources to attend regional or national conferences. So that's another common feature. Maybe the most important one, though, is that faculty have a community of practice within their department. So they're really supportive of each other in terms of that teaching and learning experience. They may or may not be, like Loretta said, they may or may not have a teaching and learning center at their institution, but usually these faculty are talking to each other and sharing what they're working on, what's really been successful, what kinds of assignments they've used, what kinds of pedagogies. They probably are also talking about their successes and failures. So what's going well, what's really not going well, and then they can brainstorm and problem solve together.
Yeah, and if I could add one other thing, one component that's common to a lot of departments that have done well is faculty promotion policies that value teaching and learning. So, at most departments throughout the country, institutions rely heavily on end of the term student course evaluations, okay, which actually are not a very valid measure of effective teaching and learning. And at this point, incorporation of sophisticated tools and policies for tenure and promotion are still a work in progress in most institutions, but it's important that these policies and tools be developed. Because without valuing teaching effectiveness, faculty are not incentivized to grow and develop as instructors.
Thank you. It sounds like there's some real features that span the departments are successful. Are there other features of departments that don't matter as much as one might think? And if so, what are those components that are not essential for successful transformation?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can think of a couple. Yeah, so we've visited we've visited departments that have serious financial limitations and problems, as well as falling enrollments. And these departments are still able to do like amazing work with their students. And of course, having financial resources can make that work easier and it can make it go faster, but it's really not essential. At least that's what we've seen. And second, we find that it's not essential that all faculty in the department are on board. Okay, as long as there's a motivated group of core faculty that are moving things forward, that's large enough to to generate interest and keep up with the momentum. Most often it's possible to work around disengaged faculty. However, it can be more problematic to work around people in your department who actively obstruct change. Okay, and in that case, the departments may need help. That's where your administration, your deans can maybe intervene and come up with strategies for like relocating or diverting the attentions of the obstructive faculty member into something more productive. Okay, so they're not a barrier to the efforts of others to bring about the types of changes that we'd like to see.
Yeah, and sort of continuing on what Tom started to talk to us about is as long as there is a champion and resources, departments can do a lot. I think it's really exciting that the institution type doesn't seem to matter. Like we've seen great things happening at community colleges, whether they be large system community colleges or small independent community colleges. Same is true for research intensive and regional comprehensive and liberal arts colleges, all capable of carrying out work to transform their departments. We've also visited, as Tom mentioned earlier, some minority serving institutions and HBCUs, and they're doing terrific work to ensure that their students are getting a great educational experience. Also, at least for what we've seen so far, the state where the school is located does not seem to affect the ability to carry out this transformation work. And that's holding true at least for the 22 states that we visited so far. So we'll see what happens to the remaining ones that we look at. With poor infrastructure, it definitely is an issue. But it's amazing the work that faculty have been able to do, even with the poorest of the poor infrastructure that some institutions now have. And what we have noticed is faculty do invest time then trying to do this workaround so that they can get some innovative things to do in their classrooms. But it doesn't prevent them from incorporating evidence-based teaching practices into their courses. So that benefits all students that are in those classes. We've been really impressed with how creative faculty are and how creative they've been with taking those little amount of resources that they have and using them in a way to make the most out of them. And what many departments have done is they've used the feedback that we've provided in our reports from pulse recognition to help make change take place and help garner more resources. And in many cases, those small changes that have resulted from pulse recognition have been game changers for faculty. And it's allowed them to be able to spend more time with students doing that great work rather than be spending time sort of on these logistical details that takes away from their work with students.
And that leads us directly into my next question. So thank you for that. So what kind of feedback are you getting from departments about the benefits of participating in the pulse recognition program?
So we've heard some really interesting benefits. So based on the reports that we have, both the first report and the second report, they've used the feedback to leverage getting resources. So that includes being able to hire more faculty and more staff. They've also used resources to renovate lab spaces and classroom spaces, which is kind of common, at least for what we've seen for some of those institutions. And we've had one sort of biggie, which was one department was able to get a new building, in part due to sort of some of this work that they've done with pulse recognition. Probably a less tangible benefit is departments seem to get more respect from their administrative leadership on campus based on the work they've done with pulse recognition. So they get this progression level that they're able to advertise and not only with administrators, but also put it on their website. And what that is demonstrating is the department sort of has know-how on how to carry out work to transform the department to leading to good student experience. And administrators buy into that and are willing to sort of invest in those departments so they can continue their work.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. So Kate, to date, the Pulse activities have been aimed at life science education and departments that serve this area, but much of what has been described today sounds like it would also apply to other STEM disciplines. Has the Pulse recognition program considered working with other STEM disciplines?
Sure. We have thought about this. Of those rubrics that Tom and Loretta talked about, the curriculum rubric would be the most likely that would not fit to other disciplines. But most of the other criteria should work. We've made the rubrics available under a Creative Commons license for that reason. It's a share-alike, non-commercial license. And then that way other faculty can download those rubrics. They can even modify them as they need to, and they could use them in non-commercial ways as long as they attribute the original development of the rubrics to Pulse. We have had a couple different interactions with other disciplines. The American Mathematical Association of Two-Year Colleges, AMATIC, they did this. They downloaded the rubrics and then they modified them to fit mathematics in a two-year college setting. We also have had inquiries from physics departments, geology, psychology departments, and we've consulted with those departments and talked about the program and how we could set it up to be appropriate for them. So far, we haven't had any of those departments participate, but we're hoping that we could support more different STEM departments in the future.
That's great. Thank you. Tom, can you tell us how departments that participate in the Pulse recognition program have been able to better support their students to pursue further education and careers in STEM?
Sure. Yeah, three things come to mind. So first, we've observed that student-centered departments, gather data, they evaluate it, and they make data-informed decisions about their curriculum, their teaching practices, and activities that students engage in. Second, activities that enable students to be active participants. And this came up a little bit earlier in the scientific process, such as opportunities to pursue undergraduate research, to participate in cures, and then having students, attend research conferences and present their research. That really seems to energize students. It makes them very engaged and excited. When they're actually doing real science rather than, following some cookbook recipe. It really makes a big difference. Okay, and third, departments that focus on creating a sense of belonging for their students through providing both, welcoming learning spaces, as well as curricular and extracurricular activities and experiences with faculty and department staff, that also leads to better outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. Loretta, a final question as we wrap up. What are some of the future plans for the Pulse recognition program?
So we plan on continuing to recruit and visit departments. We're also going to revisit departments that have participated in our IU's grant. And speaking of that IU's grant, it is coming to an end fairly soon. So we have plenty of data that we will begin to analyze and publish. In the meantime, any department that's interested in learning about pulse recognition, whether you're reading this paper or you're listening to this recording, please reach out and we can give you information about the program or other Pulse programs, and also visit the Pulse website where you can view the rubrics and our publications, and we look forward to working with you.
All right, thank you to all three of you for taking the time to talk with us today, particularly about the recognition program and about the successes of departments in transforming undergraduate education. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, Heather.